and gentlemen, welcome to week 2 of the weekly Roundup, where every week we will be reporting on the biggest news items in the gaming industry. This is CB alongside RS. RS, how you doing this week?
Hi, and I'm glad to be back. I've been quite busy all week, but had to make it to the Roundup.
Let's get started with our biggest story of the week, that being Nintendo. Revealing a Netflix-like service, as they had called it. It's going to be, it's supposed to be a lot like how the PS Now is and how Xbox Game Pass is, where there's going to be a certain monthly fee that you charge, and you have a near unlimited selection of games to play. Right now, the price points they have announced are $3.99 for 3 months. It's cheap as hell, by the way.
Oh, for sure. Netflix is even, like, I think $11 a month to start now.
Yeah, here in Canada it is. In the States, it's still at $9.99. $3.99 to start for 3 months, $6.99 for 6 months, and $12.99 for 1 year. That completely obliterates the charges that PS Now is doing, because that's
$12.99
a year. $12.99 a year.
Who wouldn't go for the year? Like, really?
It's more of a reason for me to go out and get a Switch, because that was my big concern, because I want to get a Switch so I can do some classic gaming, like play some old school Mario 3, that kind of stuff.
Well, I could see the profit margin. Like, I know it's already up there a fair amount for Nintendo now, but with that entail coming in, and as long as they follow through with it and everything, I can see Nintendo sales going through the roof.
But the downside of it is they are not releasing this service until 2018.
That's when sales will end up going through the roof then.
Yeah. But for now, there is an online service they are doing, but it's mostly just like you get to just game online. But with this service, it allows you the free access to the games, kind of like how the PS Plus is, and again, the PS Now. And there's no limitations on the games you can play. There's no limitations. You're not limited to a set amount of time that you can play the game. You can play like right from the beginning, right to finish, which is awesome.
Yeah, so it's not like a time trial. It's an actual, here you go, here's your game.
Yeah.
You paid your $12 for the whole year, here's your games. Have fun.
And you can, I think it is, you can install it to your Nintendo Switch, delete it, come back and get it again if you wanted to play it again, you know?
Right on.
And let's move on to Nintendo's competitor, Sony, PS4. Big update came out this week, that 4.70 update came out. However, some users have been experiencing some crash problems with it, like the system completely shutting down.
That's not good at all. It's also stated that by going and booting your system back into safe mode and manually installing the updates can usually fix the problem.
That's a lot of the users have found that. Just what they've been doing is they've been booting into safe mode. And they have to rebuild the database, which means basically rebuilding the system without deleting the games or losing any of your game progresses is at all.
Well, I can see a lot of people getting very angry, especially ones that don't understand the system.
Yeah, and then after that, then they have to reboot back into the safe mode, and then that's when you have to manually install it. And that, from what I understand, that is a very long and arduous task to do that.
Well, depending on certain games and that, I've seen it where they can take up to 3 hours for just a game to upload, so imagine having to reboot your system. So, for anybody that is going through this right now, we can't really apologize because we didn't make the mistake, but we wish you all the best. We wish you all the best, and hopefully you get back on your system as quickly as possible.
It's just lucky that our system, we have a PS4 as well, but it's just lucky that our system did not get struck by this.
Yeah. For now, because you don't know, I'm not sure if we have automatic updates set on our PS4 or not yet.
We do, and we have the 4.70 update.
Okay.
And what I'm expecting Sony to do is maybe release a 4.71 update to maybe patch up that problem.
Very possible, but hopefully it doesn't make it any worse than it already is.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that right now Sony is investigating what's going on with this issue, because there have been quite a few users that were affected by this crash.
I wonder how Sony's going to make up for this, whether they're going to drop money in some people's accounts or not, to try to make up for their big mistake.
Kind of like what they did with the PSN when that crashed quite a few years ago.
That, and when everybody got hacked on Grand Theft Auto, they gave them a great big lump sum.
No, that wasn't a hack. That was well, actually, part of it was a hack there, but there was a like when GTA 5 first launched. You're talking about the time when it was just full of bugs and
exactly
they weren't expecting as many people to get on GTA Online as they did, and that was Rockstar's problem.
Mm-hmm.
But they still
granted. But Rockstar did correct it by dropping account money in your GTA account.
And since then, the GTA Online service has been phenomenal. All right, so let's move on to the next story here.
A little bit more on Fallout 5.
No, we got the PS4 Gold. PS4 Gold coming out. Walmart announcing it a week early, which I think that might have Sony a little bit miffed.
True, but it could also mean that Walmart is going to be the first provider of this system.
Yeah, and they're already announcing a price point of $250 American, which is probably the equivalent to about $300 here.
$3 to $360 Canadian, roughly.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be a terabyte size PlayStation. It's not a PS Pro.
No,
it's going to be like the regular PlayStation 4, but it's going to have terabyte hard drive.
Yeah, and it's expected to perform just the same as a regular PS4 would do. My assumption is Sony might have been holding off on wanting to announce it till E3, which is like next week, I think.
Uh-huh.
And big problem was they shipped out the units. Like maybe I think it was yesterday. Was it formally announced?
It was either yesterday or like 2 days ago at max. It wasn't very long ago, but who's to say what's going to come with it? I know that it's a gold-colored PlayStation as well as a gold controller.
Yeah.
But usually when PlayStation releases something like that, it usually comes with a brand new game.
Maybe we get PS Plus Gold or something like that.
With an addition on,
But they're expecting it to, again, the price point is apparently said to be $250 US, 300 American, or 300 Canadian.
Uh-huh.
It is kind of a shocker. I mean, that they dropped it so suddenly, because like there was no lead ups, there was no.
Well, between that, didn't they just release the PS4 or whatever, like the slim model of the PS4?
Yeah, because that came out around the same time as the PS4 Pro back in October, November, and
which isn't very long in between systems.
No, but I'm thinking this gold one is just maybe it's going to be a collector's item at some point.
Maybe they're making say 150 copies.
Yeah,
limited
edition. Kind of like what they did with the NES Classic, which, by the way, I really wish I got my hand on that.
Mm-hmm.
And another big piece of news that I forgot to add to our notes: PS3. They are ceasing production of the PS3s in Japan.
Well, that makes sense. PS3 is now basically obsolete. They're not making video games for it anymore. They've moved on to the PS4, the Xbox One.
Yeah.
The computer still like PC.
Yeah, there's only a few developers that are still putting out games for the PS3, but only the big dogs like Activision, the guys who make Call of Duty, 2K are now fully
to my understanding, all Call of Duties are now transferred to next gen systems.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. Like Activision, 2K, Rockstar have now decided they're completely moving on to the PS4.
Well, why not? Yeah. With the graphical capabilities between the Xbox One and the PS4, as well as the newer systems, they can expand on their games so much more.
Yeah, and so as it stands right now, keep your PS3s, guys, because they will become collector's items maybe in the next 5-6 years at least.
Give it 10 years roughly, and they'll become definitely a collector's item.
I plan to keep my entire library, and I've got quite the extensive library for PS3 titles.
Moving on to the next piece of news, we have a little bit more about Far Cry 5. Quite controversial, like usual.
But this is also, I know that this is a joke. The guy who put out that petition, part of my French, I almost swore there. But he put out some kind of a petition saying that he's gonna saying that Far Cry 5 is to be banned, and we all know that this was a joke because it. I read the article and it was very lighthearted, but a lot of people are taking it like it's serious.
Well, I've heard recently at EB Games myself, I was in there shopping around for some games, and they were even talking about people planning on boycotting Far Cry 5, and by boycotting it, they want to get that petition signed around, which is back to the joke. Yeah. We honestly don't know, but with every single Far Cry that's come out, there's been some controversy in one way or another. They still get released.
Like we talked about last week, there's controversy, and I guarantee you, even with Red Dead 2 coming out next year, there's going to be a lot of controversy around that too.
If anything, I could see at most that they would block it from being sold in certain countries because they don't feel that it meets the regulations.
Like for instance, Australia, they're known for banning. Like they banned My Little Pony in Australia.
Yeah, they're very very particular.
Yeah,
on
so I kind of expect that maybe guys in Australia might have to put some leniency on it.
Even Germany, like I understand,
yeah,
they're a little picky about it too.
And with the UK, with their whole Brexit thing, there might be some new laws there as far as their gaming goes. But I think they do have a decent rating system, and they are very strict on IDing young players who want to buy a game like Far Cry 5.
I don't see it being blocked in Canada or in the United States whatsoever.
No, because well, I already can tell you with Ubisoft. Hi, Skittles. A little guest welcome here. Anyways, whipped his face. Anyways, no. Well, with Far Cry 5 is actually being developed in Montreal, so I mean, they're
Canada's in it, like in the full tilt of it.
Yeah, there's they don't really have to jump through loopholes here just to get the game developed. I mean, that's about it. Let's move on to the last piece of the day, and that is the brand new Life is Strange 2. Brand new Life is Strange coming out. One is set to be a prequel, which is going to focus on what happened to Rachel. The first game was actually what happened, or like what happened to Rachel. The second one, the prequel, in my opinion, is probably going to be the lead up to what happened to her.
Which will probably be the first release, I am guessing. And then if they plan on making two of them, they're probably going to release Life is Strange 2 after that.
Yeah, and in which case, there has been no information released on that one. But we do know it is in development, and I think they, because the PS Plus games for June have the first Life is Strange in that collection, I'm thinking they're doing that to promote these two Life is Strange titles that are coming up. And I expect that maybe we'll get some information at E3 about what to expect during said game. And
we're looking at E3 next week. There's going to be a lot of information next week for sure. Released, a lot of demos, a lot of new trailers.
Oh yeah,
Should be quite the interesting week.
I guarantee you, because with Sony, Ubisoft is doing their own thing. That's been officially announced. They're going to be doing their own press conference, so I guarantee they're going to talk more about Far Cry 5 there. They might even. They also said that a new IP could be on its way. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, Sony, Xbox, Nintendo is the only one that's we're a little leery on. Nobody knows what they're doing for E3.
Right, but with the newest information leaked recently about Nintendo possibly doing that similar to Netflix thing, that could probably be announced at E3. That's Nintendo's introduction into
that. Well, it was announced yesterday, but I think they're going to maybe showcase like what it's going to look like, how it's going to act. But yeah, that'll do it for us here for the weekly roundup. I'm CB. This is RS. Stay tuned for next week, where we will be discussing some E3 news. We won't be able to discuss it all because E3 will be going on while we're shooting it. So yeah.
And to everybody, have a great day.
Yeah.
Join us again next week.